Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Above All. Welcome back, everyone, after a lengthy international break. Only sort of the one sort of injury concerned, but Trossard ended up playing yesterday. Nothing really drastic as we bounced back. We pressed the reset button, didn't we? And got back with a really, really good performance yesterday against Nottingham Forest. I've got Lauren and Neil with me. Lauren's unbeaten streak continues, which is fantastic. It's probably my fault we've had that little bad run because I haven't had her on the show, to be honest. But anyway, we've got that performance to talk about yesterday, some standout performances, some interesting questions, and a look ahead to the visit to Portugal on Tuesday in the Champions League. But of course, before all of that, let's go. Welcome one, welcome all. How are we doing, Neil? How are you feeling after that yesterday? I know you were supposed to go to that game, but you've not been feeling that great. But how was it for you just watching that and seeing us get 3 points on the board after a long while?
Oh, lifted my spirits. I was just so kind of downbeat after the recent performances, and then to see a game that we could just literally enjoy. It's been a long time since we've just been able to watch a game and think, how nice. And I think that was more than anything else. And obviously we are quite a way behind Liverpool as it stands now after today's result.
Yeah.
But it's good just to get those 3 points and just see if we can build on it from now. So great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having coming on again, Neil. I really appreciate it. And I also got Lauren with me from the Ladies in Red podcast. How are you doing, Lauren? Much happier with what the women are doing as well. Yeah. Nice for the men to getting on the act to get 3 points and score a few goals as well. How are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah, no, all very good vibes around here. I'm doing great. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, always a pleasure. It's great to have you two back on again. So let's get into it. Obviously, normally a bomb goes off, doesn't it? When, an hour before kickoff, when the team lineup goes off and then, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, it all goes off, doesn't it? Everyone goes crazy. I did a little bit, thinking, oh my God, he's made what was it 5 changes? What's he doing? Is he thinking too far ahead for Tuesday? And it wasn't. I mean, I guess it's kind of appropriate. It wasn't so much a bomb; it was almost like a nuclear one with what's maybe coming down the road. This might be the last podcast the way things are going with what's happening with the politicians, what they're doing. But anyway, that's another podcast, isn't it? Politics above all. But yeah, Lauren, what was your thoughts on just that lineup? And did you have any concerns about it? Do you think he maybe went a bit too far, or was he just having a lot of confidence in the squad now? Because obviously we've got such a deep calendar over the next couple of weeks. It's pretty mental. What was your thoughts on the lineup and just how that reflected in the way we went at Forest right from the off?
Yeah, well, for me, the first name that I looked for was the first position was, of course, right back. Obviously, with Ben White out now for who knows how long, an extended period. Happy to see, obviously, Califoria back in. That meant Timber could play at right back. So that for me, that was kind of where my mind went first. And I didn't even bother looking at the rest of the team, to be honest, initially. And then I saw people reacting to it, and I was kind of going, oh, wait, what do you mean there's no Partey or, Martinelli or no Havertz? Yeah, to be honest, even with our best team or whatever you want to call it, our normal starting 11, we haven't really seen the results that we'd wanted. So I was open for it, to be honest. I was kind of going, trust the process, whatever. But yeah, it was quite surprising to see a lot of change, particularly in the midfield where, Declan Rice is out now. But yeah, Jorginho for Partey for me was a really big shock because I think Thomas Partey is having one of his best seasons, if not his best season that we've seen him in an Arsenal shirt, and kind of makes you realise how much we did miss him, last season when he was out for so long with injuries and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the period where you have to balance and you have to learn to manage players, and it's going to come in thick and fast now for the next 2 months or however long it is until we have the next international break. It's almost 2 games a week, so I wasn't too concerned about it, to be completely honest. It was a bit of a surprise to see so much change though, but yeah, Saka, Odegaard starting, I was happy enough with that.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Yeah, I hold my hands up. Yeah, at the beginning, I think I was a bit. Yeah, he's gone too far. You know, it's normally 2 or 3 changes. I think it was 5 in total. Neil, what was your thoughts on that as well? Obviously, hindsight, you know, as you say, is 2020. And some people were saying, you know, he was looking ahead maybe too much to the Champions League game. But, you know, you got Forest at home, who are a decent team. You know, they've had a couple of decent results. They obviously beat Liverpool, didn't they, at Anfield? Were you happy to see the likes of Jesus up front, who's not scored a goal since January last year in the Premier League? What was your thoughts on his performance, particularly up front? Because it just added, I think it added a different. There was a lot more link up in terms of, you know, nice, cuter passes around the corners, rather than with Havertz. But what was your just thoughts on the lineup and just how we approached that game? Because we just went at Forest right from the very off, and obviously we had the goal disallowed, didn't we? But what was your thoughts, Neil?
So I went through that. You know, you go through that stage where you go through pain, anger, denial, all of that stuff. One of those. I went through one of those stages when I saw the team lineup. So initially it was anger, as you well know, Michael, because I WhatsApped you straight away and said, "That's it, I'm done with him. I can't, if this goes all pear-shaped today, that's it. I've had enough." It's just, you know, because I thought initially we're coming off such a bad run and to make so many changes. Why is he trying to? It felt like he was experimenting, and I thought, this isn't the time. Then I went through a more of a pragmatic kind of spell, thinking, okay, we have got lots of games, as Lauren quite rightly just said there. We've got so many games coming up. He has to. We've got no choice but to rotate anyway. Maybe he just wanted to start off straight away. Who knows? Right off the bat. And I thought, okay, whilst I'm loving the defence, I mean, the back 5, perfect. I think, to be honest, I think that is going to be our back 5 going forward in the future now, if they're all fit. So if Timber and Calafiori and the other 2 stay fit, I think that is going to be our starting lineup. And that's with no disrespect to Ben White, because I absolutely love the guy. But I think Timber might be able to offer a little bit more than what Ben White does. And I think he proved it, a lot of that in this particular game, which I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. But I didn't have a problem with that. But seeing so many changes in the next 2 levels of the pitch, I'm like, oh God, is this really going to work? And then Jesus, no, I'm not feeling it with him anymore. I'm not feeling it with him or Trossard, sadly. I just don't. They don't. Before, when I used to see them play, Jesus when he first started, and then Trossard, you know, obviously last season when he was coming on as a substitute and making such a difference. I don't get that wow factor anymore from them as a fan. I don't get that. As you can see, or get jumping up. Oh my God, what are they going to do? I just don't get it. And I hope they can prove me wrong and prove everyone else wrong and start firing very, very soon. But we're not in a position to carry players anymore. We just are not. We are so. It's got to be such a focus, because we are still in 4 competitions. It's a very high level of competition that we're in as well. You know, outstanding opponents. It's Champions League. You know what that's all about. We can't afford to carry players, as far as I'm concerned. So they're not for me at the moment. And again, I always try. I don't like to get on anyone's back, especially when they're wearing the cannon. And I hope they prove me wrong. But I wasn't that impressed, with that. And then, of course, the midfield as well, seeing no party. I'm like, geez, what's going on here? But the midfield, it wasn't bothering me as much, because obviously I like Jorginho. I've got a lot of time for him. And I have liked what I've seen with Mourinho as well. So I wasn't too overly concerned. And then, of course, then I went through the final stage thinking, hang on a minute. You're forgetting one thing. You got Odegaard back, man. What's the matter with you? We're gonna smash these guys. He's gonna run them ragged. So I went through 3 kind of phases of it, and I'm sorry I went on a bit there, but yeah, that's how I felt about the lineup.
No, I totally agree. It was outstanding, outstanding performance from Odegaard. I mean, people have had a go at us. It always seems to be us they have a go at when a certain players is missing, it seems. But everybody else, it's like, I'll get on with it, Arsenal. You've only got one player missing, but with other teams, as we saw with City yesterday, and all you heard was, they missed Rodri, and Rodri's such a big miss, and this and that, and it's okay for them to fall apart with all the players that they've got still to call upon. But with us, we're supposed to just get on with it when Saliba was injured, and when the title race went up in smoke, and get on with it when Odegaard's been missing for 14 games as well. But no, it was a great start. The mentality, I think, was the key thing for me. Not only the changes of the team, I think the mentality was, because we went at them straight away. Timber had his goal disallowed, early on, with that, VAR check, which took about 90 minutes. It seemed like to me, and I mentioned it in the WhatsApp group, Neil. I mentioned it to you, Lauren. I don't know whether it's just me or my conspiracy hat on, but it seems to me whenever Arsenal score first in a game, like open the scoring, there's always seems to be a VAR check, and it always seems to be lengthy. It's almost as if they just don't want Arsenal to take the lead, because they know it completely changes the momentum of the game. Whereas on the other, if the shoes on the other foot, if the opposite team scores, there you go, VAR check complete straight away. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's just me. I've got a tinfoil hat somewhere, but it seems like that way to me. It just seems to me that whenever we score first in a game, especially at the Emirates, I think, Neil, you've been there a few times, obviously, and whenever we do score a goal, it seems like the VAR check just takes ages. And obviously it was if it takes so long, then it's not clear and obvious, is it? I thought they normally meant to give it to the attack, but they haven't on this case. And disappointing, because it would have been Timber's first goal for Arsenal, and I thought he played well. Still showed signs of a little bit of rustiness and the fitness not there, but he looked like he was really enjoying himself on the right hand side with Saka and Odegaard. And Neil touched on Odegaard. Lauren, what was your thoughts on his performance and just everything that he brings on and off the ball? Because I was just watching him off the ball as well, and he's like a conductor. He is a conductor, isn't it? They really say that certain players are conductors. And he is. I'm surprised he hasn't got a stick, waving his stick around like the conductors. He's got one tucked down his shin pad or something. But what was your thoughts on his performance yesterday, and how? And do you feel almost like his importance has grown even more in his absence? Like, which is they say some players are better when they're not in the team, especially when you're going through a tough time. But do you think his aura and his importance to the team has grown now, since he's been out?
For sure. I was super impressed with his performance. I think, however long he's been missing, Arsenal just have not looked the same. We haven't looked the same in attack, even in defense as well. At some points, he's just really is the glue that binds everything together. And I know there was a few kind of eyebrows raised when Arteta picked him as captain, but I think as each season goes on, it just becomes more clear and more obvious as to why he is the person who should have the captaincy and should be leading the team, because without him, we just don't look the same. I was super impressed by his performance yesterday in terms of his fitness as well. He's been missing for so long. We saw him in the Chelsea game as well. He didn't look quite up to scratch, quite, the Odegaard that we know and love. But yesterday it was like he had never been missing. And I was so blown away by the performance. I think, a lot of people, they kind of think Saka is that player that we need to have at all times. And I fully agree with that. I do think without Bukayo Saka, we wouldn't be the same team that we are. But I just think Odegaard has this certain something about him. Maybe it's the captaincy, maybe it's, whatever it is. He just has this leadership. And as soon as he's there, everyone else around him steps up and looks 10 times better. I think I answered all your questions. I can't remember. I think it was them all.
No, I just think you're spot on. His importance has grown immensely in his absence, and you got to think this is like his first full proper game. I know he came off earlier and he played 90 minutes against Chelsea, didn't he? But he's only going to get better. And I think you touched on it earlier, Neil, about Merino. Just his performance as well. Jack mentioned obviously in the chat as well about how natural he looks in that 8, operating in that 8. Then compared to someone like Declan Rice. yeah, what's your thoughts on his performance? And again, is it a case of he's just getting started? This is what his fourth start for Arsenal. Linking obviously well with Odegaard as well, obviously from the Real Sociedad days. I thought he was solid. He played very, very well. I just think it's going to be nice to see him, Partey and Odegaard together playing a lot more games. But what was your thoughts on his performance and how key his experience is going to be, especially with the trip that we've got coming up on Tuesday? I
think he's a massively important player for us and a great signing. So kudos to the people that got him in. I think he's very comfortable on the ball. He looks very self-assured, confident, and he carries the ball well as well. And the other thing is he's always making forward runs. He's always getting into the box. It was it would have been his assist if Timber's goal had been allowed, which was. I'm with you on this VAR thing. It's just ridiculous. It's ruining the game. It really is, because I've seen, you see it from when you're watching it at home or from a pub or wherever you're watching it, or whether you're in the stadium. That complete stop, it stops the celebrations. And yeah, I think where I think what you said earlier, if it's not clear and obvious, I'm sure the benefit of the doubt should go to the attacking side. I mean, but it's just ridiculous. We're talking millimeters offside. How you can have an advantage from that, it beggars belief. But anyhow, they're the rules. It wasn't allowed, but it just goes. It demonstrated to me what Mourinho does. He's another component which is not about just playing it safe or being defensively minded. He wants to go forward. He wants to attack, but he's very clever with it as well. I think his off the ball movement is good too. And there was a couple of times when he was within the box and they were like building up attacks. He's just little one touches. It's his awareness. Very much like Odegaard, actually. Not on Odegaard's levels, but he's there. And let's think about this. He's only played a handful of games for us. So for him to settle down so quickly, I think he's made tremendous progress with this unit and this team. And that a lot of that has to go, the applause for that has to go to obviously the coaching staff and the way he's been, introduced, the way he's been introduced into this team and what the manager wants from him. So I think he's vastly important, because we're going to have to rotate. For sure. And I think we've now got options. If Partey remains fit, he's fit, Odegaard's fit, Rice comes back from his toe injury and he starts getting a bit of that form back from last season. Boy, that is some midfield lineup if you think about it. And not forgetting Jorginho, which I also thought had a great game. He for me is Arteta on the pitch. He's like a coach. Odegaard is the captain, completely agree. But I think Jorginho is almost like Arteta on the pitch. He's like got an echo of him on the pitch, the way he's pointing and he's directing. So, and I think, by the way, I think Jorginho is going to become a coach like Arteta has done as well. So, I think we've got a great midfield. Once they're all fit and firing, oh my goodness me, I think it's a lot of good stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, 100%. It was great to see, obviously, Saka back, wasn't it, Lauren? And silencing a few doubters, which and people questioning his integrity. One of them seemed to be the England captain. Was one of them for what some of the stuff that he was saying, which I'm amazed that no one's really sort of picked up that much. But a question was asked to Arteta at the end in the post-match press conference, and he said, "Well, look, if anyone wants to doubt that he was injured, we can send the MRI scan to them." It's funny, isn't it? How many players get pulled out, over the years, Man City players, Liverpool players, Man United players, and 2 Arsenal players pull out and everyone goes crazy again. And the fact that they're questioning Saka, who has been voted England, best England player for 2 years in a row, has always stepped up. You look at the Euros, he played in different positions, he always delivered. Everything was tailored for, everything was set up for Phil Foden, really. Those Euros, everything was tailored for him to shine, to the platform for him, and he provided no goals, no assists in that whole tournament. And we know what Saka did, but yet he's the one that everyone's sort of, people got the audacity to say, well, no, we think there's something about this. He's not legit. For me, that goal he scored, the venom he hit that shot, to be, looked like it was, you know, he was like, that was like a statement. He wanted to prove to people, you know, I'm not messing about. You know, how dare you question me? But yeah, what's your just thoughts on that? On just how people are actually questioning his integrity, that he's just pulled out because he wasn't genuinely injured, and just performance as well.
Yeah, for me that's crazy, because I think when you think of players who are always available, who are always there, it's Saka's name is always top of the list. And you know, for me, he's not a player who seems to shy away, and Declan Rice as well. You know, they're both players who want to play football and want to represent their club and country. I mean, you could obviously tell that they were carrying a bit of a knock maybe before the international break. So, yeah, best not to send them off and to suffer another situation similar to what happened to Odegaard and have them missing for however long. And obviously, Declan Rice didn't play this game, so I think that the doubts were kind of, you know, confirmed there. But with Saka, for me, you just have to think about how much he takes, you know, how many how many knocks he gets per game, and how often players just go for him. And to be honest, it's a miracle that he isn't missing larger chunks of the season based on that alone. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it's just one of those things you just kind of have to shrug off and say, look, we you know, we don't care. Our players are protected, and they're obviously injured, so they're not going, and that's it. You know, not waste our time kind of stooping down to other people's levels, going, oh well, you know, it's only because they play for Arsenal and Arteta, you know, black magic or whatever, the dark arts that we've been performing all this season, you know, whatever it is. Just have to say, you have to laugh at it, I think. But in terms of the performance yesterday, I was so mesmerized with everything that Saka did, particularly in the first half. It was, you know, you knew a goal was coming from him, and to be honest, I'm surprised he didn't get more. But the goal that he did score, I think that's one of the best finishes I think I've ever seen him have. And the way that he just danced by 3, 4, 5 players in the box, it was mesmerizing. Honestly, I was kind of a pinch me moment after it went in. I was going, wow, like how lucky are we that we have him in our team? And I saw a statistic today, I think it was from, can't remember which season, last season or the season before, that only 3 players in the Premier League have over 60 goals or goal assists in the Premier League, and that's Saka, Haaland, and Mo Salah. And it kind of just shows you where he's at. And you know, I do think he's a bit disrespected, and I know he's still a young player and we're yet to win things, but for me, and as much as I said, you know, Odegaard, he is kind of the backbone of the team. For me, Bukayo Saka is the player of this Arsenal generation, and that he epitomizes everything that you know Arteta has achieved so far, and the change that he's brought to the club. And yeah, he'll always have my support, even if he's in an English jersey. I won't lie, but no, I just think he's brilliant, and his performance yesterday, you know, I'm sure we're going to touch on man of the match after, but between him and Odegaard, they made it really difficult to choose. But yeah, no, I think it just shows how important it is, that partnership, and to have them both fit and playing the way that they are, it's going to hopefully really, you know, transform the season now. And if we can keep them both fit, it should be good going forward.
Yeah, massive to get Odegaard back. He looked like he was really, really enjoying himself out there. And yeah, just long may it continue. Let's talk about, obviously you mentioned Partey. We've got to mention his goal, superb finish as well. He's done that before against Forest, I believe. A couple of years ago, I think he scored one on the top corner against them from the edge of the box from the same sort of angle. So he's got something about him. I don't know whether they've done something to him in the past life, I don't know. But yeah, it was a great performance from him. I think he looked really, really good. As touching on what you said earlier, Lauren, I think he's been superb this season. I think he's been our best performer, especially in midfield. And yeah, when he came on, obviously he came on for Jesus Jorginho, mainly because of the referee in the first half with those yellow cards that we picked up, which was just absolutely ridiculous. Again, you know, people want to say we're conspiracy, but we're just ref differently. I mean, I just don't understand how quickly the referee gets those yellow cards out. And Forest are doing. I think there's one guy called Dominguez. I'm sure he did 3 fouls in the first half, and nothing happened. Nothing happened to him. Yates, who plays for Forest, every time I see him play, he's just a nasty piece of work. He either throws himself on the ground to try and get people booked, or he does something stupid himself. And he did that. You know, he did a really bad tackle, ended up getting a yellow card. and then he ends up sticking his head, and pretending he got kicked in the head. Nothing happened to him, and he ends up getting Saka getting booked for it as well. But yeah, Partey comes on for Jorginho because obviously Arteta's a bit worried about getting another yellow and going down to 10 again. But superb performance for him. But I think we've got to quickly move on to a certain young man, Neil, who came on and absolutely blew us away again with he came with another 10-minute cameo. But Jesus Christ, what can you say, man? He scored. He's got a crazy stat in every game that he started for England. Is under 19s, under 18s, and Arsenal. Every game he started, he scored in. So every game he's played this season, or every game he started this season for England and or Arsenal, he scored a goal in it. Yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Neil. There was a bit of play that he did before the goal where he absolutely cooked Murillo, who's a guy that this is the moment here, and this guy's been spoken of being a target for us, a target for a lot of clubs in the Premier League and also abroad. Absolutely ruined him. Had a shot which just went wide, and then obviously he got his goal. But what's your thoughts on him, and if he can produce that? Why didn't we play him earlier on? Why didn't Arteta do it? Is he being too cautious? He said something about that in the press a lot at the end of the game, that he's got a plan for him. But what have we got on our hands, Neil? Generally, what have we got on our hands here?
Messi, number 2. That's what we've got on our hands. Probably, arguably, potentially the potential to become the best player in the world. That's what I'd say. And I'm not even going to ever hear it. People can say that I'm an idiot or laugh at me. I don't care. I think there aren't enough superlatives for him. That's for starters. Every single time he has his 3-minute cameo, he does something with it. By minute, I think he's been our best player of the season, if you just count the minutes he's played. Because I think in all the minutes I've seen him play, I can't speak for the England games, but certainly for the Arsenal ones, I think he's made one error, which probably wasn't even all that significant anyway. That's it. And then what he's given on the flip side of that is pure productivity, pure impact, advancement, going forward, taking on players, confidence, awareness, stability, balance, you name it, everything in the book. He does that. He does that mazy run, completely destroys that player for that first chance, which he just puts wide. That's what within a couple of minutes of coming on, and then 3 or 4 couple of minutes later he scores a goal. And let me just say, I'm so pleased for Sterling to get an assist, because I think having him in the squad, having him in a lineup, a forward lineup which isn't firing really, with the exception of maybe Saka and Havertz at the moment. We need that extra forward that can maybe give us something when we're rotating and when we've got so many games coming up. So I'm really pleased for Sterling as well to get an assist. And what I've been a bit harsh on Jesus and Martinelli and Trossard of late, but one thing I'd want to recognise is when and where he put that ball in the net, I love the way Jesus was clapping. He was so happy for him. So kudos and my hats off to Jesus for that, because it's the first time I've seen some genuine emotion for someone else by Jesus, if that makes sense. And I really liked it. I'm not to say that he's selfish. I'm not suggesting that for a second, but I just like that he did that. It was a really nice touch from him. Yeah. But it's the second youngest player for us to score a goal in the Prem. Yeah. I think it is. As far as him not playing, my thoughts on that, Michael. Lauren, you may not. I think it's been a mistake, actually. I think there's a couple of games that he could have featured while Odegaard was out injured. I don't think it would have done him any harm, and it could have done us the world of good. But it is what it is now. We can't cry over spilt milk. We've got to look forward. Now, he's saying he is managing him and he wants to do it in the right way. That's fine. But you've got a ready-made player. Look, the way I see it, age, all right, is sometimes of importance. But you look at this guy. He doesn't give me any signs or indications that he's nervous, that he's not physically ready. Because look at him, he's built. He doesn't look like a 17-year-old.
Strong boy.
He's very well built, and he can look after himself. You can see that on the pitch. So for me, age doesn't then become a factor in my book. And we're not going to be expecting him to play every single game 3 times a week for 90 minutes. Of course not. But I think he deserves more than what he gets. And I'm sure because of that, he will be able to add a lot more value to us going forward. I say that we should play him more. I mean, I'm not the manager and I've got no right in saying this, but Arteta obviously has come out and said he's got a plan for him and to manage him. But I think this kid is something else. He's a phenomenon to me. And I just hope that we see a lot more of him this season, because, my God, we will be in for a treat if we do.
Yeah. 100%. What's your thoughts on it, Laura, as well? I read somewhere that if you go back to when Guardiola had Foden coming through, and there was this real clamour for him to play, and he really didn't, let him off the leash, and people were sort of saying, well, maybe he should go out on loan and get some minutes there, and he kept him within the squad. He kept him, and then he sort of had his opportunity, and then whoosh, he's where he is now. Player of the year last year, even though it was debatable. It kind of seems to me, because obviously there was a certain individual who was around his development, and that was Mikel Arteta. So, because obviously he was City coach at the time. And what's your thoughts of that? Do you think he's maybe taking the same kind of steps, being that cautious, and he obviously knows the quality he's got there? And again, in the post-match press conference, he seemed a bit spiky when they were asking questions about him. He seemed a bit peeved off, and about getting questioned about him and how he's not having too many games. And he was adamant that he's got a plan for him, and he wants to make sure that he follows that plan for him. What's your thoughts on just his introduction to the team, and with the games we've got, and as obviously Neil said at the top, the games that we've got, can you see him featuring a lot more? Because we've got you can see the ones coming up in the days between them. It's going to get really crazy, isn't it? So what's your thoughts on just his performance, what he could offer us as we go into these games where we've got to win the next one?
I mean, yeah, what can I say more about his performance? I was super, super impressed by it. I have been every single time he's been on the pitch, but I do get the protection aspect of it. I mean, he is, he's 17. He doesn't look 17. He certainly doesn't perform like a 17-year-old when he comes on, but that is so young. That is so young to be on the stage, to if he had been the backup for Martin Odegaard, a player who's also young, but who has so much experience, he really would have been under the spotlight. He really would have been, I don't know. For me, I have no problem with how he's being managed, particularly when you think of the likes of Barcelona, who have so much young talent, and what they tend to do is bring them in and they just keep playing them. And the likes of Gavi and Pedri, how many injuries have they suffered in the past few seasons? And they were also tipped to be, the next Messi or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And for me, obviously we don't, it's better to have a player with longevity than a player who can come in for half a season and perform exceptionally well, and then we're kind of going, oh, what could have been, with the likes of Jack Wilshere, for example. So I mean, obviously one part of me would love to see him play more, and I think now with this run of games we are going to see a lot more rotation, where we are going to see him being utilized more. But at the same time, when we're in situations that we've been in, it needs to be the players with more experience who step up and who can manage those games. And yeah, to be honest, I'd love to see him come on more, and I think maybe another thing that Arteta is doing is trying to get him that hunger to show that he needs to start. So when he does get cameos, that he performs like he did yesterday and gets goals like that.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't really have a massive issue with it. I think player protection needs to be at the foremost, especially for a player of his age. He's so young. But, a few cameos here and there, and hopefully a few more goals in the Premier League would be nice to see for the season. And then, with 18, 19, 20, that's when you really want to see a player. I mean, it's still incredibly young, but I feel like that's a bit more achievable and manageable from every aspect.
Yeah, 100%. He's got. Go on, Neil. Go on.
Yeah, sorry, no, I think you've kind of made me look at it from that other side now, Lauren, which is great, and I agree with you. I think that's a good way of looking at it. The only thing I will say, though, I think when if we're worrying about maybe his mentality and in the spotlight, I'm not suggesting that he plays every single game. I'm saying I think he should have a little bit more. But also, if you remember when Saka came on the stage, he was quite young, maybe not as young as him, but he was very young with Emil Smith-Rowe when they literally had the task of taking us out of a very bad situation. And it was all on them that literally gave our team a bit of credibility. Literally those two, and then I think Martinelli and a little bit of Tierney then, because I remember when Tierney first started, he was linking up very well with Martinelli. So 4 very young players, especially Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe. And what I see and the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is I see a lot of Ethan in Saka or Saka in Ethan, whichever way you want to work it. And I actually think, I don't know for sure, but just from the surface and from what we see, I think in a way, Ethan might even be more mentally stronger than even Saka is. And that's why I think that he could probably handle maybe that side of things. But yes, at the same time, I do get what you're saying, and I completely concur that we have to still be careful. I just think he deserved a little bit more than he's been getting. That's all I'm saying. I think, the game against Southampton, and there was another one where I think he really should have played, and I think one of them didn't even come on for a minute. So it's just little bits of observation like that. But let's see. You're right. We know we've got, as you said, we've both all said that we've got lots of games coming up. Maybe you'll feature in the FA Cup as well as the League Cup. Things like that.
I think for sure in the Cups he's probably going to be one of the most important players for us. So hopefully we can go far in them, and we can get a really, really good run of games. And I mean, from what I've seen as well, I don't think there's any doubts, but I'm just trying to get into the heads of people managing him behind the scenes, that kind of thing, because there's no reason otherwise why he shouldn't be starting. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, just glad we got him. I think they're talking about a new contract as well, a new long-term contract. So hopefully that gets sorted out and signed. And you think he's 17. He's got so much time for him to progress. And and one of the key things as well, which I think you said, Neil, about Jesus actually being happy. James has actually put 1 bloody goal since January. Of course, Jesus isn't selfish. And one thing as well, what you notice, Declan Rice put something on his Instagram about Ethan. Urian Timber did as well. So they've got this, they've got this little brother sort of thing, energy about him, and they really want him to do well. They really realise how good he is, and
he couldn't be in a better place, could he? Look at really wonderful people as well.
I think Arteta has got a plan for him, and will blood him in when he sees the opportunity there, and then in case, as like Lauren said, once if he comes up with his cameos and he keeps on producing, then it's going to be unstoppable. You're going to have to fit him in somewhere. You're going to have to start him somewhere. And it's interesting to see. One thing you could say about him is definitely can say about Ethan is that he's very humble kid. He comes across as a very humble kid. One person you can call a kid and maybe isn't as humble is this guy. We'll just take a little break, a little bit of interlude of the show, just to have a bit of a laugh. I mean, look at him, poor kid, eh? And I think he's taking it pretty hard, because this was him this morning after he's eating his breakfast, and he looked like he's in prison, but he's not. Some people have said he's a bit resemblant of this guy who used to play Coronation Street actor Haaland, since he told Arteta stay humble. So we'll get the laughs in here, because obviously they will reboot the computer, won't they? They will reboot the robot, and then he'll start scoring 3 or 4 goals a game again, and everyone will say he's the best striker in Premier League history. No, he isn't. But anyway, let's talk about another striker who we're going to be facing on Tuesday, Lauren. Victor Gyökeres, and he's almost got, his numbers are crazy. He's in November, and I think he's scored 30 odd goals already. I don't know what your views are on the striker situation. Do you feel that we need to get somebody in?
I felt like we've needed to get someone in for a very long time.
There you go, great answer. I think when the draw was made for the Champions League draw, and we had Sporting, and it was a case of, okay, let's see what he's about. Let's see what he does against City. Let's see what he does against Arsenal. We know what he did against City. He got a hat-trick. And for me, I think everyone's got their eyes on him to see what's going to happen in January and what's going to happen in the summer, if not nothing in January. I think it's going to be a free-for-all. If he does something against R2, the brick wall, Saliba and Gabriel, what does that do? Would you literally be a case of, we've got to trigger that release clause in January, just to give us that injection, to have that little bit of firepower up front? And what's your thoughts going into that game? Do you think this whole Champions Super League, whatever you want to call it, it's crazy, right? The where it is at the moment. I don't even know how many points we got. But what's your thoughts looking into that? Are you kind of hoping that he plays well, but we win? Maybe he scores a couple of goals, but we win 4-2 or something like that. That kind of situation. But what's your thoughts looking ahead, and what and us addressing that forward situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you saw the draw, I think initially a lot of people would have said, okay, Sporting Lisbon, it's just going to be a tough game, but we should be able to get a result there. I think them coming away, what was it, 4-0 against City, 4-1, I can't remember exactly, whatever the result was, it kind of shook people up a bit and kind of made everyone sit up. And I personally really enjoy Portuguese football. I think the league it's really, really great, but sometimes, you've seen it with players, they perform so well, and then when they move to the Premier League or whatever it may be, you can kind of see that they struggle. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And I think even Fabio Vieira, if you want to look at an Arsenal example, he was so hyped, and he's kind of struggled to break into the starting 11 or to become a regular feature in the squad. But I'm very excited for the game. I think it's been a while. It feels like it's been a while. It's probably only been 3 or 4 weeks since we've had a Champions League game, but no, there is always something very special about it. And I think we're in a decent enough position as well. If I remember looking at it, if I remember correctly, I think we have 7 points and we're in 14th or something. I don't know, but it's very attainable. It's very achievable, and I think this is a very, very good game. And I think it's a game that all the players are going to be really, really hyped for. Particularly Saliba and Gabriel. They have a challenge in front of them. How often do we really question whether they're going to be able to handle a striker or not, because they're just so solid? And I think I feel as though they really enjoy those kind of games, against Haaland or whoever it may be. They particularly Saliba, and he really steps up in those games. Gabriel as well, but I think you really see the best of Saliba up against those big, strong strikers. So I'm very excited to see him. I haven't, to be honest, watched that much of him, or really watched him with much intent. But he's definitely a name that everyone's thrown around, and I think, as I said there, I mean, I'm always excited when we get linked with the striker, and it's not because I don't rate Havertz, but I think we need backup. We need someone who's an out-and-out goal scorer, and I really like what Havertz does, but I think in games when we're struggling, we need someone who's clinical, who doesn't waste chances. And, you look at City over the past few years, and that's how they won the league, okay, with Rodri as well as that defensive midfielder, but they've won games by so many goal margins. They've put games to bed so early because Haaland scored a hat-trick in the first 30 minutes or whatever it is. And I think that really is the only area of the pitch where I look at Arsenal and go, that is potentially where we could be losing leagues, or where we're not challenging for more. Excited to see him. I hope he has a terrible game, of course, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he shows. As you can see there, Sporting, they're doing so well.
Yeah. Good start for them. Obviously, with Amorim, who started as United coach today. They are very dangerous side. Very, very offensive. So it's going to be interesting them being on the front foot. Or I think it's going to definitely be a game for your guy Martinelli, Neil. On the transitions, I think trying to get something in behind. And I think obviously that's why he's probably put him, Havertz and Rice, especially for that sort of power in the transition on the bench. What's your thoughts about Gyökeres as well? I know you're not too into transfer talk, but I know you've heard me and James go on about him so much in the WhatsApp chat. Yeah, what's your thoughts on are you interested in having a good look at him to see what he's about? And even if it isn't him, do you agree with Lauren that we definitely need to get someone in with a cutting edge to help push us over line? Because that's something. I mean, all right, we scored. What was it? We scored a record amount of goals last year, didn't we, in the league for the club? But there were certain games where just not having that person up top made the difference. But what's your thoughts, Neil?
Well, that's right. Lauren just said that exactly that when we've had struggling some of the games where we could have done with a striker like that, we could have actually pushed us over the line, and we could have won the league, if not even the year before potentially. So no, totally agree with Lauren. I think that's one area where we need that extra firepower. And again, exactly what Lauren said, it's not to replace Havertz, it's for additional strength in the squad and for that rotational aspect as well. And situations where we're having a bit of a difficult game where a team might be just shutting up shop, just trying not letting us through, and we have someone that can do something a little bit extraordinary, like Henry used to do, and even Van Persie. I know some people hate on Van Persie, but and Sanchez, obviously Sanchez used to do. So just something different. And look, I don't really look at players outside when they're not actually Arsenal players, so I don't know much about him. All that I've heard is from you guys going on and on about him in the chats. And so obviously when he did what he did against City, I actually watched that game, which is quite unusual for me to do. And I was just blown away by this guy. Now, for me at the moment, my only kind of opinion on everything is I want him to have a good game because I want to see our boys handle him. I think you're right, Lauren. And in a way, I hope he does have a bad game too, and we get the points easily. But in a way, it'll be quite good as a good test to them. And that will be quite interesting. But at the moment, he's not an Arsenal player, so I don't wish him luck. I don't want him to have any injuries because I want us to then kidnap him after the game and that's it. And tell say you're joining no matter what. Don't care. You're not. Say goodbye to your friends and family. You're coming to London, and you're going to be a striker for us. But no, I just hope. I think it's going to be a really tough game. Look, you can see from what they've been doing. The only thing maybe in our favour slightly is obviously they've lost their manager to Man United, unfortunately. So I think he might do quite well for them, but let's see. It's too early to say at the moment. But that could have destabilised them slightly. So probably in a weird way, this could be the best time to be playing them, and it's fallen the right time for us. Neil wants. I do. James, fantastic chant, Lauren. I think I might send it to you. It's brilliant. It's so good. It's one of the best chants I've ever heard, and it's got to go viral if we do sign him. But it'd be interesting to see how we do against him and the team as well. It's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think we've got enough. I think this is what just to go back a little bit. And sorry to drag this on.
No, it's fine.
With what happened yesterday, with Odegaard coming back, Odegaard has given life to the whole team again, as far as I'm concerned. We'd become a bit lifeless. I thought we'd regressed 2 seasons. And all of a sudden, yesterday, we're back to what we were doing in the early part of 2024. And, maybe this kind of the start of this season, not so much, but it's just given that extra invigoration to all the other players. Yeah. And I think with Saka, it's helped Saka so much because normally Saka, with Odegaard's presence, was having to do all of that part on his own. And all the defenders were always on him. 2-3 defenders always on him. Odegaard is now stretching that because he's getting 2 or 3 defenders to follow him so he can create spaces for Saka to do his thing. And I think that relationship that they've got has been so important. And I think that has given the boost to all our players. So I actually believe that we're going to get a result on Tuesday. And I think it's going to be tough. No doubt about that.
Yeah, that was it. I agree. It was easily our best performance of the season so far. I think we've all said on here and elsewhere that we just haven't been. It's been a bit clunky. We've taken the leads in some games, and then we've sat back, and and then we've had situations with discipline and the way we've been refed on certain things. That again, even yesterday, were a couple of situations where Forest players, threw the ball away. When delaying the restart of the game and the referee doesn't do anything about it, so there's still that kind of thing to sort of deal with as well. But I think yesterday was
Twice,
definitely,
didn't it? Twice they did that.
yeah, we did it
Not
twice,
giving
yeah,
anything.
and
Yeah,
not nothing,
Trossard got
yeah,
done for it. Rice got done for it. It's a joke, isn't
yeah,
it? Right?
yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, I think yesterday was definitely our best performance. And as you said, Neil, getting Odegaard back and Saka back has reinvigorated him and the rest of the team. And I think we go there in good spirits. I think the key thing was a clean sheet as well. It's been ages since we had a clean sheet at home, and I just think we go into it with confidence. And when you look, obviously we've got a 17-year-old wonder kid to throw on to put the scares up him as well. I think it's going to be, it all bodes well. I think we just need to get maybe. I don't know. I think Tommy Asu's injured again. I think he's picked up another injury, and I think they sent him away to get him rehabilitation. And I think his head's not right now because he's so sort of distraught in terms of he got really close to getting fit, and he got another injury. So I think we need to try and get something sorted out there. Hopefully, Calafiori can stay fit, because I don't really want to see Timber over on the left, because we know what that means. It's going to be Partey on the right, and that just weakens us. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Interesting game. I'm going to look forward to it. I think there'll be a few goals in it. I think we'll edge it. Hopefully, it'll be a statement win, obviously, because I think they've won pretty much every game that they've played domestically. I know I think they've drawn one in the Champions League, but they are a dangerous side. So it'd be interesting to see how it works out. And then obviously after that, we've got West Ham Saturday night, which is always a cup final for them. I know we beat them 6-0 last year, so they'll always try and turn up. They've been shocking, haven't they? They've been absolutely terrible. But West Ham, you know what they'll do, and we'll see what happens. But no, thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's flown by. It's nearly an hour. Thanks so much. It's great to talk about a win. It's been such a long time. I think down in the dumps after the Chelsea game, and just how we sort of let that game slip. But no, we're on the right foot. Energy's back in the team. We've got the captain back, and we just go onwards and upwards. Neil, appreciate your time, man. Obviously, you can catch Neil on the Purely Arsenal podcast, and obviously you'll be back on here in future. Very hard to track. The Arsenal Jason Bourne, and
make sure you get Lauren on every podcast now. We'll win the quad. My dream will come true.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the negotiations. We're gonna sort that out. I'm a bit strapped for cash, a bit like Arsenal at the moment. So we have to see what the purse strings are like. We've got Christmas, and I've got 3 kids to deal with. So have some mercy on me, Lauren, please, when we have those negotiations. But Neil, the most dangerous Arsenal fan alive, the Arsenal Jason Bourne, he's going to pop off the grid again, not to be seen again until he pops up on another Arsenal podcast. Thanks, Neil. Lauren, Ladies in Red podcast host. It's a brilliant podcast. Really is. I love it when you sort of second guess yourself and you question yourself and some of the things you talk about in because you get so caught up in it in what's happening, and just obviously talk about that. It's been a great run of games for the women, and I'm just surprised that nothing's happened in terms of announcing a coach. Do you think she might get it? That she's playing herself into getting the role, or do you think they've got someone?
To be honest, I mean it's a funny one, because I think you came on Ladies in Red the day after we got rid of Ida
literally,
and we were kind of saying, I don't know if this interim manager for 2 games, she's obviously extended that. She's been in charge for 5 games, unbeaten in them, got us Champions League qualification. I am nothing but impressed. I really, really, really think she has absolutely turned the whole ship around. I'll go into more detail on the podcast I'm doing, but to briefly sum it up to you, I think everything has kind of been put on hold with Edu's departure as well, in terms of getting a manager in, because obviously he had such a pivotal role, and I think that's kind of just put the brakes on things. But from an Arsenal women's perspective, if things keep going the way they are, I don't think we need to look much further. I think she's absolutely transformed everything. But from what the players are saying, you know, it's kind of up to her whether she decides to, because I think she's got a 3-year-old son or a 3-year-old child. So, you know, it's a big task to take on with a young child. So, yeah, I mean, very happy with how things are going. Hopefully the men can do this now as well, and everything can pick up and we can all be happy. It's not that much to ask for, is it?
Yeah. Fingers crossed. You know, it doesn't help that Chelsea keep winning and you know, City keep doing what they're doing. But yeah, let's hope they get that sorted out as well. But no, she's done really well, and it's great that the women have secured their place in the next round of the Champions League, the quarterfinals as well. So that's really great. After the bad result we got against Bayern as well, that was bad, wasn't it? But no, we can scratch that. That's history now. But no, thanks, Lauren. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really appreciate it. Really thanks for having you on. We will negotiate for you to come on every show.
It happens
going forward. You're a lucky charm.
Good seeing you as well, Lauren. Thank you for
great chatting to you both. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for the comments in the chat. It's been really appreciated. We'll be back after the West Ham game, most likely, and then obviously I think we've got the United game, haven't we? After that, it's going to be interesting. So yeah, so fingers crossed for that. But no, thanks very much. Thanks to everyone for watching. We'll be back, and all that's left to say is come on, you Reds.